Well, hello, true gardeners. So today we are in Sebastian, Florida, zone 10A, and I want to share with you this lovely little garden that we just finished. I'm really hoping this one gives you guys some good ideas. A lot of us have side yards that, just kind of get left out. They're just pretty much nothing but grass, maybe where the equipment goes, things along those lines, and it's just really not usable space. But y'all know property values in Florida. They're pretty pricey. And we're not getting bigger lots any day sooner. So use every bit of square footage that you've got. And I'm hoping by the end of this video, it may give you the idea of like, okay, what's possible here? What's a possible thing that I can do here that may connect all of the areas around your garden to create that real outdoor resort? All right, true gardeners. So we are gonna jump right into this lovely little side yard garden. I don't know if you can see it from here. All the way to the back, there is a patio seating section. That was here originally. I'm gonna ask Bryce to pop in a before picture. So it was a front yard landscape that was already landscaped, a driveway, and then pretty much just grass. There's a lot of traffic on this road. So kind of softening that noise and softening that viewpoint and dog walkers and whatnot. As this Lucie hedge that we have here, as it grows 5 foot tall, it's going to do that. You're really gonna lose track of what's going on back there. You're just gonna see some lush palm trees, the canopies, like it's something really pretty back there, but you kind of don't know what. If you guys have a similar situation and you're like, I just don't want to put like a hedge right across the whole front, make it interesting with some landscaping. So you can see this Lucie starts right at the driveway line. We had it come straight, and then start to curve. Kind of gave it like a little bit of purpose. So that way, this front part of the landscaping, this is for his front yard viewing. This is to make this lovely and pretty, and this is gonna do just that. But everything to the back, that's for him. That's for his guests, that's for his friends, that's for him to enjoy. As this grows in, this is a very, it's a couple day old landscape, so it's very, very young, but as everything grows in, it's really going to create that kind of lushness. Pop of color and impact to the front, and the party's in the back. We've got the Helen Johnson bougainvillea at the base here. And then we've got a nice dollop of bush daisies. I just love the way these guys look. I love their little pop of color. Both of these guys, y'all, love full sun. They can handle a little bit of shade, but they really do like that impact of that sun. So if you got a spot in your garden that just gets blasted with sun, these guys here, maybe mix some foxtail ferns in there, and then boom, you've got a whole 3-tier landscaping because they love that. This area doesn't get a lot of irrigation, so that's why I wanted to put some things here that was really drought tolerant. And these guys can really take 2-day-a-week watering cycle, 30 minutes on each zone, and really kind of saturate that 2 days a week. And then the rest of the time, they're perfectly fine without any water. So they're a great plant to work with if you need a pop of color that blooms 10 to 11 months. 10 to 11 months you get out of these guys. And if you've got pink and you've got yellow, you kind of want something dynamic, a contrast of color. So this beautiful silver Bismarck is going to do just that. As it matures and gets broad and big, it's going to be a really beautiful stunner and really anchor this corner. And speaking of anchors, if you've got something with some impact on one side of the garden, you kind of want to do it on the opposite sides. We brought in a very young, this is a 30-gallon foxtail, about 10, 11 foot tall, and it's really got some nice size to it for a young tree, but you could tell that this is going to really kind of anchor this and this side of the garden. So when these are 5 foot tall, having these 2 sets of fronds on either side is going to feel like, okay, this is not just a hedge, this is kind of a soft wall with some impact on both sides. Now, if your area is long enough and you can do a secondary pop out here with some of those same color patterns, even better. But you got to work with budgets. So, whatever that is for you, but that's kind of where I would ask Richie to add in the future, is maybe tie this in to kind of create something like that, but further down near the culvert area to really kind of give a little bit more layering and really capitalize on what you see as your first look at this beautiful buffer planting. All right, y'all, so now we're at the main openings. Anytime you're gonna start a pathway, if you can start at about double the size of the pathway, in this particular case, I normally Y it like this, but because of this propane tank, I definitely didn't want this in the grass like it was prior. I wanted it to be part of this openness of the pathway. So we've got a nice wide path outlined with sandstone Viera edging, kind of coming up, really starting our front walkway with some impact. I was telling Richie that once these Lucie come back and and once the other Colusia kind of grow in, it's gonna frame this pathway even better. You're gonna have 5-6 foot on either side of a wall, and you really could do a beautiful garden gate right here. So that way it really did feel like everything was just super nice and private. So I think that would make a lovely kind of, you know, a little polish at the very end of the project.
Hey you guys, Bryce here. I just wanted to pop this in real quick and ask if you could like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps show your support and keep these videos going. Also, if you're enjoying the video, please drop a true gardener in the comments. And if you're looking for any help with designing your space, or you have some questions, or you want a master plan created, or you even want a design and installation done, head over to our website. We have 3 short videos that break down our 3 services so you can see which option works best for you. In those videos, we'll go over pricing and locations for the state of Florida. And if you're looking for any products mentioned in this video, we have a link that takes you directly to our Amazon storefront where you should be able to find everything. And also, if you're looking to build your own plant palettes, we also have a link that takes you to our book that helps walk you through designing your own space. Thanks so much for your support, and let's get back to the video.
All right, so as we come around, of course, we wanted to start wrapping this. And anytime you want to create a curve, find a reason why you're creating that curve. So every time I create a curve, I put something here to make that happen. So we took the grass out of this area here and created a nice landscape bed on the inside. And that allowed us to do this nice, soft, gradual curve. So that way, if you're standing there at the gate, the future gate, you're really not seeing past it. You're not seeing beyond it to that patio section because this is your interrupt. I like to have like kind of something that distracts the eye. It could be something small. It could be a cool tree, one of your favorite trees. Have a tree and put it there with some small plantings below it, and then you have your pathway curve right around that. And that's kind of what this purpose is of this little grouping here. The plant selection for this particular grouping is foxtail ferns right at the front because they're just tough and hardy, and I just love that softness to them. I've got a little clustering of antilou right here. Right at the base of that burgundy, I have the yellow bush daisies. Right to the back, I have got fire spike. These are the red varieties. They're really gonna get nice and tall and red and kind of really give a contrast to that poor Colusia hedge. I see green in it, you guys. I hope after the frost that Colusia hedge comes back, because it's so established. Right in the center, I've used a bottle palm. We didn't want anything very big in this area, and I love the idea as this bottle palm grows, kind of come over top of the pathway and kind of give you, that palm effect when you're walking down a space and then the fronds are right over top of you. So I think it's gonna do a lovely job of that, and always stay that way because they kind of max out around the 14, 15 foot range. So it's always gonna kind of give you that big full feel being so close to the house. And if bottle palm's not kind of your thing, a great alternative would be a spindle palm or a Christmas palm, something that's going to stay kind of compact and small in this particular area, but kind of come up over top of your canopy. So that way it's not really interfering too much with your walkway. All right, and just down below here, we have some blue plumbago. Kind of keep in mind that this project was done about 2 weeks after the freeze. So a lot of this plant material that you're going to see is going to have some of those effects. Even though we picked up our material from far south to get the best that we can, plumbago did fantastic during the frost. They got a little bit thinner, as you can kind of see here, with a little bit of tinge, but these guys, within a month, they'll be beautiful again. Plumbago love full sun. So they're gonna mound out, be a nice 3 foot tall. They are gonna get into this walkway a little bit because that's what gives you that more organic look, that natural look. So don't be afraid to put something big like this. Just don't put too many. You see, we have 3 here. We have a nice little grouping, and then we've got something that's gonna be way more controlled, like the bush daisies on either side. So those will be nice and pushed in while these kind of pop forward a little bit, really giving you that just kind of cool, soft feel. So as you can see, what I did on that side over there, I usually do to the other side. So we end it right here in this bed with some antilous, a nice little collection of antilous. I know that I mentioned this in just about every video, but this is a 3-gallon antilus right here. In this particular grouping, there are 3 of those 3-gallon antilus. We dig a hole that's about 25-gallon size, so extra large hole, put all 3 plants in there, connect them like you would a bouquet of flowers, and then make them nice and tight. And as they grow, they'll kind of push out against each other. I see a lot of times the antilus are planted in singles like this, where you'll have, one plant, one plant, one plant. But if you connect them as a solid grouping, it gives them more of a lily feel. They won't stress with that. They won't compete with each other. They're naturally growing that way. and really allow them to have that really cool kind of real bulbous big canopy to them by keeping those bases nice and tight together. This is obviously the garage area, so we kept and added a pathway leading off of this pathway. Now I could have made another pathway, and had I not had this next section, I may have made an actual gravel pathway, but I really like to change up. If it were in the budget, I would love it in flagstone, but anytime you guys can mix materials, that's ideal. So if you've got flagstone pathway in one area, a stone rock pathway in another area, and you have maybe shell rock in another area, those are really cool textures. It gives the area personality, and it also separates the spaces real well. So don't be afraid to mix and match like that. All right, and so for this next section, kind of had to play with it a little bit because I knew I didn't want a wide opening. I know I wanted the rock to kind of go towards the back of the house and kind of end at this corner area, but I wanted this to pop out a little bit. I wanted the window to be hidden. I wanted this section of the garden to kind of almost narrow. So what I chose to do is bring in a foxtail palm and a pygmy date palm for this big blank wall right here, and then wrap it with these sloppy painters and something simple like these mammy crotons for a pop of color, and something that's gonna stay nice and low. That is Richie's bedroom window right there. So I not only wanted that little spot right there to have color, but what he looked at directly across from it, this is his personal little garden. Every time he opens his window, this is what he's gonna see. He's gonna see a real big pop of color with the blues of the plumbago, the yellows of the alamanda, the antilus here in this grouping, and a little touch of white of these odorata begonias. This area has a lot of layering, a lot of impact. Originally, when we were talking, Richie just wanted a pathway that led to the patio area, which, you know, was fantastic. But I thought, gosh, if we can make like a little island right here and carry that pathway to the pool area, that now he's got a pathway that connects. And in a moment, we'll get to see this as you walk all the way around. You'll see that there's a secondary pathway that leads and connects to the two back sections. So I feel like this garden is so interactive. Kind of just start from one space to another, and it's just such a joy to really enjoy. Now, as we walk this way and we start making our way up the path to the seating section, I kind of want to mention this because so often when I'm meeting with clients and we're kind of looking at their yard site plan and they're like, you know, I want a seating section right here, right outside my patio door. This is where we're going to, you know, enjoy and just maybe have a fire pit. If you guys can, and if you can work it into your budget, definitely push the seating section out further. It doesn't need to be up close to the house. If you have some interesting paths and some interesting plantings or gardens that kind of lead you into that area, because that way it feels like a whole nother vista of the garden. That's what the resorts, that's what, you know, all these estates do so well. They're gonna have, you know, this main area for entertaining, and then one section leads you to the next section, the next section leads you to the next section. You get the point, right? I mean, use every bit of space of your property, then that's what turns it into a front yard, backyard landscape to a true garden that goes all the way around your house. Our first grouping behind you along the edge of the patio is going to be a clustering of dwarf alocasias. Y'all know that these guys get 4.5 foot tall, really gonna fold in together, really create a big mound of coverage, and really gonna fill in this spot and also make it feel like this back patio is really nestled in together. I think it's just gonna be so very stunning when it comes together. All right, and for the next section, right where Brace was standing, sorry, I'm jockeying all over the place. We have some very burnt Brazilian red cloves. This is what they look like after the winter storm. They've been cut back. I'm very happy they've got some green leaves on them. They will flush out in no time. Within a couple months, they'll be absolutely stunning again. But you guys know what Brazilian red cloaks will do. They will be 8 foot tall and full of blooms, and they're gonna love this environment. Can handle full sun, can handle filtered light. If they're a young plant, you're planting them at 3-gallon size, protect them a little bit initially. They do not like that direct sun that young. These Brazilian red cloves, you won't believe it now, but you'll see them from the street when they finally get going. They'll be the backdrop to this patio section. Anytime I have a patio section that's pretty squared or hard corners, I really try to soften it with the landscaping around it. So you guys, when you're picking your plants and trees, pick kind of big leafy material. It could be split leaf philodendron, it could be Brazilian red cloaks, it could be alocasias, it could be monsteras. Any of those things that soften those corners, it's gonna give you that organic look, that organic feel, like now this patio is just kind of enveloped into that space. Right here, we just did a touch And I do mean just a touch. There's only 2 farfugiums right at this corner, just to soften the entrance way to Richie's walkway that leads to his backyard section here. And then of course, he's got some nice clustering of palmettos going on there. We put in a little planter as like a little peninsula right there with some bromeliads and foxtail ferns and some devil's backbone, just to kind of give that a little separation, because anytime, again, you can disrupt the eye in a design, the better. All right, so you guys saw the pictures of what we were working with here before. It was a lot of natural vegetation. It was a natural buffer. It was just a lot going on with material. And I often hear when people have this vegetation, they come to me and they're like almost apologetic. They're almost like, gosh, I don't know what you're gonna do because all of this is going on, and it's how are you gonna make that make sense with the new landscaping? And I literally, when I hear that or see this, I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, this is gold. I love working with natural vegetation. I love working with palmettos and sable palms and backdrops of queens, because what that does is that gives me instantaneous height. That gives me instantaneous texture. Now it's time for you to come in with more of that polished material. So let's jump into that polished material I'm talking about. All right, y'all, so this is what I consider the back wall of the garden. And when I have all of this to work with up here, all of this just natural vegetation, and it is staying put, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a clean line as you get closer to the living spaces, that everything gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. And that's kind of always gonna be your goal. So right here, I have a trio of pygmy date palms. And you notice they're not in a straight line. They're kind of at a nice curve, because I'm really trying to over accentuate that we have curves going on in this garden. If you kind of hadn't noticed that, that's kind of the feel or the vibe here. So these are curving around the backside of the centerpiece, which the centerpiece is the Bismarck palm. So behind the Bismarck palm, I wanted to have a bit of brightness, and Song of India do such a nice job of giving us a future 3-foot pop of brightness as these really grow in together. These can be maintained nice and easy at 3 foot tall, really chunk out together and kind of give you a little bit of a wild look as they kind of interconnect with one another. You can kind of see like they're looking for each other as they lean out every which way, trying to find its neighboring plant. Once they do that and they fully connect like this, they're going to be absolutely like a gorgeous kind of tropical little hedge, and they're curving around the backside of this to kind of really create that kind of feel for you. Then now we have our brightness. So now it's time for our little dark little touches. So we've got the petricrotons at the front, and then dwarf xanadu right along the base here. So this does a nice job of kind of just giving us, again, that leaf on leaf kind of texture. Xanadu will never compete with dwarf alocasias. Dwarf alocasias will start to get a little stemmy when they get about that 4.5 foot height. Dwarf xanadu will not. They'll stay chunky and kind of mound forward. So they'll do a nice job of becoming kind of a skirt for those ladies' legs right there. These are still babies right now. They're little 1 gallon babies, but these are Blew My Minds to the front of this silver Bismarck, because blue and silver and yellow, you kind of see just bright and dark, bright and dark. Same thing, it's kind of a rinse and repeat over into this area where we have the Song of India, the petricrotons, with a little touch of holly fern right along this corner here. And that carries over until we get into this side. So you can see that this, now we're starting to create that other curve. I love this little section right here, because this is kind of like a little add-on. We had that bed over on the other side of the Collusia kind of pop out and round out. So why not do it on the back side? It really gave us the opportunity by using that Collusia wall as our backdrop. Now we pop this out and have a nice little ground cover grouping of these bush daisies, a pop-up of the false agave, some mammy crotons in a curved fashion around the false agave, and just a little clustering of the sloppy painter to let them get kind of nice and thick to the backdrop. And you can kind of see it's the same kind of pattern. We've got yellow as the brightness, we've got the dark red for the deep tones, and then we get to the yellow and the green as a nice backdrop of light color. And then of course we have the Collusia and the natural vegetation for the green. This is really going to come in nicely as it really matures. And that pretty much does it for this section of the garden, but you can see that this is a more of a cleaner look. We don't have a lot of like the palmettos or Europeans or things that are kind of like what you see with this natural vegetation. So if that's you guys and you guys have a lot of that going on, then leave a little bit of a separation. You can see we have a little bit of what could be in the future a walking trail. Right now for Richie, it's going to be more of a maintenance path, because you kind of have to get in here to maintain what's going on behind. He does that about once a year. So being able to have a separation between the two areas, I think is always important. If you have the space, that's kind of a nice place to just hide fronds between garbage days. That's kind of how I use my maintenance path. But you can do a nice bit of separation there and then layer your more clean line plantings to the front of this. I love palmettos. I think they're just a beautiful Florida touch. It really brings out that old Florida kind of landscape. So I think having the combination of two here, where this is a natural vegetation meets intentional design, then I think it's going to be golden. I just cannot wait to see this all grow in and take off and become the garden of his dreams. I did want to mention one thing that I think might be helpful to you guys. When you're creating an entrance way of a planting, it's very common to find a symmetrical base with it. So if you do something on the right side, you usually want to do it on the left side. A lot of times you cannot do it equally. Like, it doesn't always line up. So you can see I've got a nice collection of antilus on this far corner over here that do a lovely job with some bird's nest ferns down below. This is a nice shady spot that I got to use the bird's nest ferns and multiple of them. I think they look great, but I couldn't do it right here because that would have made our walkway like 2 foot wide. So the next best thing that you can do is make sure that even if it's pulled forward, you know, like this is pushed back and that's pulled forward, we've got the antilus there within this little shady spot. I had enough room to do 2 bird's nest ferns just to kind of complement both sides of this entranceway. And when you're thinking about your garden, just kind of contemplate that. Even if you can't make them side by side, make them like this, where you got a staggered grouping, or maybe one's way over here and one's over here. The eye will pick up the pattern. When you see that, that's kind of like the exclamation mark that tells you that, oh my gosh, yeah, that's really well done. It's just kind of tidbit information. But let's check out this one little area before we go. All right, y'all, so as we walk through here into this space, you'll see that there's a little divider planter. Kind of creating a division line between pathways is just a fun thing to do. So when you're looking at a space in its whole, don't be afraid to put a divider right through the middle of it and kind of create a whole different feel, because having that space over there as a different kind of walkway path and this area that leads right to the pool area, it led to this little area right here. And then the pathway led to the natural seating section. And our pathway led from the driveway to that area and to this area. And you kind of see, if you can do it in a couple different types of material, it doesn't get dull or it doesn't get overdone. And it doesn't look like a bunch of runways going from one another. I love the variation of material that was used. Let me tell you about these little plants that are in this little island that we're talking about. So we've got 3 silver odoratas in a triangle formation around his cool little statue. We've got some baby Blue My Minds kind of skirted around this edge so it can kind of fill in this bottom. Foxtail ferns, because we've got a fake rock here and we kind of wanted to make it look like it belongs, so we're going to round it out with some foxtail ferns. Then some Mamie Crotons there, a little clustering of 5, and then some foxtail ferns behind, and then a cool plant called Devil's Backbone back there. I just love that plant. I've been using it a lot lately because it's just so durable. In the cold weather, it got a little bit of that pink tinge to the leaf, but during the summer, it's very variegated and vibrant and wild. To me, it looks like it belongs on some kind of coral reef the way it does that when it gets nice and big. I've had a couple in my garden for a couple years now and just love the way they look. They're just so crazy and wild. And then finished it off with the fire spikes, as we mentioned back through here. I feel like I hit the jackpot with this particular area because to me, when you're walking down here, not only do we get a little bit of an elevation change right here, but I love the way these palmettos just kind of frame and go around you. Really create that wild jungle kind of look. I think for a native plant that can handle the cold weather, by the way, these guys didn't even miss a beat. I think it just has such a cool wild look. So adding some of this material that we did, was the purpose of that was to polish it up a little bit. So that way this didn't feel so overgrown and rustic. When you have a combination of 2 things, it really feels way more intentional than it does if this is just a big wild feel to these guys. If this is part of your landscaping, then kind of keep some of it and then tie in some new material and polish it up a bit. All right, you guys, so I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was very fun to shoot. I hope it made you ask a few questions about your own particular garden and say, you know, is that doable for this space or is that doable for that space? But think of a way that maybe you can utilize your whole space, create your own estate. It doesn't matter how big your lot is. You really can make it, every inch of it, super enjoyable like Richie's done here. And I can tell we'll be back fairly soon to continue to add to this garden. So hopefully we'll get to share it with you guys again. If you guys are interested in any of the products that you saw in this video, then the links will be in the description, especially the Beauty Edging. If you guys are thinking about buying Beauty Edging, I do get a small commission from that link there. It does not cost you anything extra and it does help to support the channel. So thank you guys so much in advance for doing so. I will see you guys next week on next week's garden tour. Take care.